Welcome to Watch Cozy. Today we're exploring a fascinating and maybe a little uncomfortable idea. Are there times when our natural instinct to sympathize, to feel sorry for someone might actually be, well, unhelpful? We're going to unpack a perspective that suggests our compassion isn't always best directed where we might sort of automatically assume.
That's a really crucial point, I think.
Yeah.
While empathy, feeling with someone is often seen as just a universal good.
Yeah.
The thinking we've been looking at highlights situations where extending sympathy, the pity part maybe, can inadvertently keep negative cycles going.
Or hinder growth.
Exactly, or hinder personal growth.
Yeah.
It's really about refining our understanding of how to truly support others effectively.
Okay, so let's dive in. The first type you mentioned. The ones who consistently seem to expect others to fix things for them. The irresponsible, perhaps.
Yeah, the irresponsible. The core idea here is, it's pretty stark, like you said. No one else can fundamentally build your bridge across the river in life for you. Everyone has to navigate it themselves, ultimately.
Right, so when we constantly step in, maybe out of sympathy, to fix their problems.
So what happens is we might actually be preventing them from developing the very skills they need. Resilience, problem solving.
It breeds dependence.
Exactly. It creates this dependence where the temporary relief we offer just overshadows their need to become self-sufficient.
It's that classic teach a person to fish idea, isn't it?
Precisely. Giving the fish feels good, feels sympathetic, but teaching them to fish is what actually empowers them. Constant sympathy here might just keep them waiting for the next handout.
Okay, that makes sense. It's like unintentional disempowerment. So what about the second type? Those who seem to live in their own reality.
Ah, yes, those who avoid truth.
The ones who build these elaborate illusions and just won't accept anything that contradicts them.
Right, and what's really interesting here is the resistance to truth. This perspective suggests they often lack the inner kind of fortitude to face reality.
Why? Because it would shatter their world.
Exactly. It would shatter their carefully constructed world. There's a key insight. People often defend their illusions fiercely, not because they believe they're true deep down, perhaps, but because those illusions are comforting. They protect them.
So offering sympathy, maybe by nodding along or validating their illusions, that just makes it worse.
It totally reinforces that resistance. Sympathy that avoids challenging their, flawed perspectives actually does them a major disservice in the long run. There's a powerful image used. A snake that cannot shed its skin dies.
Okay.
Similarly, a mind that's unwilling to change its opinions to shed old ideas, it becomes stagnant. It loses its ability to evolve.
And our sympathy could accidentally, enable that stagnation.
That's the risk.
Yes.
Enabling the stagnation instead of encouraging the sometimes painful process of facing facts.
Right. Okay, let's move to the third type. This one's about people who seem to constantly indulge themselves, prioritizing comfort above everything.
The excessively self-indulgent, yeah. The perspective we're exploring suggests this might, maybe paradoxically, lead to weakness.
How so? Comfort seems nice.
Well, the core insight is that strength, real resilience, often emerges from, overcoming challenges, enduring discomfort. Constant pampering, while it might seem compassionate on the surface, can create a fragile state. Someone who's just ill-equipped to handle life's inevitable bumps.
So too much sympathy, shielding them from any difficulty.
Might actually prevent them from developing vital coping mechanisms. It's a balance, of course, but excessive shielding isn't truly helpful.
There was also something about having a very narrow perspective, like someone who's only read one book and treats it like gospel. How does that connect?
Ah, yeah. The connection is in the avoidance of challenge. Just like constant physical comfort avoids external discomfort. Clinging rigidly to a single viewpoint avoids intellectual discomfort.
I see. So it's another form of overprotection, but for the mind.
Exactly. Real growth, intellectually speaking, comes from engaging with different ideas, testing your own assumptions, maybe feeling a bit unsure sometimes. Sympathy that just reinforces a super limited worldview. It hinders that intellectual resilience, much like too much physical pampering hinders emotional resilience. You need some grit, some exposure.
Okay, this next one is quite challenging. Those who seem to hinder our own growth. The analogy was, as you climb higher, you look smaller to those who can't fly. What's the core message there?
The fundamental insight, I think, is about the power of association. Our environment, our close relationships, they shape us. If you consistently associate with individuals who maybe lack ambition or operate with really limiting beliefs, it can subtly, clip your own wings.
It's not about feeling superior, though.
Not at all. It's not about superiority. It's just about recognizing the powerful, often unconscious impact of shared mindsets and aspirations. Who you spend time with matters.
It's like that idea that your network influences your, well, everything, not just money.
Absolutely. It covers intellectual growth, emotional well-being, personal development, the whole package. Think of it like this. Just as one drop of, say, ink can cloud a whole glass of water.
Right.
Consistently being around negativity or just uninspired thinking can dampen your own drive and outlook.
So sympathy here might mean being more selective, protecting your own energy.
Perhaps. True sympathy might involve choosing your inner circle wisely, focusing on relationships that foster mutual growth rather than draining your own potential out of a misplaced sense of obligation or pity.
Which kind of leads into this next comparison, the foolish friend versus the wise enemy. That sounds counterintuitive.
It does, doesn't it? But the idea is that we might actually learn more valuable lessons from a challenging adversary, someone who pushes back.
Than from a friend who means well but is maybe not challenging us, or is caught up in trivial stuff.
Precisely. The key insight is that constructive criticism, or even just direct opposition, can reveal our blind spots. It forces us to sharpen our arguments, confront our weaknesses, really up our game.
Even if it comes from someone we don't necessarily like, an enemy.
Sometimes, especially if it comes from them, because they have less incentive to, sugarcoat things. They point out the flaws directly.
Whereas a foolish friend, even though we might feel sympathy for whatever struggles they have,
they could actually be a source of distraction. They might hold us back with their own limitations or pull us into unproductive habits or ways of thinking.
So wasting sympathy on them, it doesn't help them, and it might hurt us.
That's the argument. Sympathy directed towards a friend who constantly pulls you away from your goals or reinforces bad habits. It might just enable their patterns and undermine your own progress. It's about recognizing where the real opportunities for growth are, even if they aren't wrapped in friendly comfort.
Okay. Now let's talk about idolizing people, putting them on a pedestal, especially, say, in relationships. The philosophy suggests this is bad for everyone involved.
Yeah, it's seen as a real disservice. The crucial takeaway is that idealization stops us from seeing the whole person, their flaws, their imperfections, their struggles.
And why is seeing the flaws important?
Well, firstly, it creates totally unrealistic expectations, right? Which inevitably leads to disappointment. But, maybe more importantly, it deprives the other person of the chance for genuine growth.
How so?
If their imperfections are constantly overlooked, maybe excused out of excessive sympathy or adoration, they lose the motivation, the feedback loop, to actually work on themselves and evolve. You're not loving the real person, you're loving a fantasy.
And this kind of excessive sympathy can slide into codependency pretty easily, I imagine.
Oh, absolutely, where one person's well-being becomes totally tangled up with propping up the other or maintaining the illusion.
It stops being care and starts being enabling.
Exactly. What starts as genuine care can absolutely morph into enabling behavior.
Yeah.
By constantly shielding them from consequences or just showering them with uncritical sympathy, you inadvertently stop them from developing their own problem-solving skills, their own resilience.
You take away their chance to stand on their own 2 feet.
In a way, yes. You cripple their growth by protecting them too much.
Okay, last one. The inconsiderate and self-absorbed, the rude, the narcissistic. The message here seems pretty blunt.
It is quite direct, yes. The basic idea is that these individuals, characterized by a real lack of empathy and a primary focus on their own needs and desires, well, they aren't really deserving of our sympathy.
Why not? Don't they have their own problems too?
Perhaps, but the core understanding here is that because of their nature, their lack of empathy, they're unlikely to appreciate genuine compassion or reciprocate it. Extending sympathy in these cases often just proves futile. It's emotionally draining for you, and it rarely leads to any positive change in them. It's like pouring water into a leaky bucket.
So it's a matter of conserving your emotional energy for where it might actually make a difference.
That seems to be the pragmatic takeaway, yes. It's not about judgment, necessarily, but about recognizing where your compassion is likely to be wasted or even turned against you.
Okay, so we've gone through these 7 types. What's the big picture here? What does this all mean for you, the listener?
Well, I think this whole exploration offers a more, let's say, discerning lens to view our compassionate instincts through.
It's not saying don't be compassionate.
No, definitely not. It's
Yeah.
not about becoming unfeeling or cynical. It's more about being mindful, more aware of where and how we direct our empathy.
It challenges that default assumption that all suffering or all apparent struggle deserves the same kind of sympathetic response from us.
Exactly. It encourages us, you, to maybe look beneath the surface sometimes, to consider the underlying reasons for someone's struggles, and, importantly, to ask, could my sympathy, my intervention, inadvertently be reinforcing a negative pattern? Could it be hindering this person's potential for growth and self-reliance?
That's a tough question to ask ourselves sometimes.
It really is. Because helping feels good, sympathizing feels right, but this framework suggests we need to be smarter about it.
So it's not about closing our hearts,
Not at all.
but about channeling that empathy in ways that truly empower others, while also maybe protecting our own well-being in the process.
That's a great way to put it. It's about finding that crucial distinction between genuinely lending a helping hand and accidentally holding someone back with misplaced pity.
So maybe something for you to think about. Which of these distinctions stood out most to you? Does it change how you think about compassion?
Yeah, it's definitely just a starting point for a much deeper reflection, I think, on just how complex being compassionate really is.